Hi again.
Hi, Ernie.
So, we were talking off camera about my experience with my wife, which led to a breaking of a big chunk of what we call Ernie, the inside sense that I'm somebody. And it was this incredible yearning for her to meet me, I guess, in a particular way. I didn't know what it was, but I wasn't getting it. So I work in Ashland a good part of the time, and then I come home to the coast where I live, and so I go back and forth. And my lives seemed really different. And in my work life, people were open, sympathetic, had a lot of empathy, emotional. And at home, my wife tends not to be very emotional or showy about her affections. Loves me like a steel rod, but wasn't feeling like what I needed to feel like. And it was really a huge issue with me. I mean, I'd had several till 2 a.m. trying to get her to see and understand, and didn't work out. So this one time I come back from Ashland to the coast, and I realized I should calmly see if I can lay this in her lap so she can understand. And mind you, the sense of this yearning was not light. It was very visceral, very deep. Felt like without it, I would not be happy. I would be suffering my whole life not to have this get met somehow. So I start here in the kitchen on the coast, which I'm in right now. And all of a sudden, as I start, she's got tears rolling down her cheeks. I say, what's going on? She says to me, I'm just so sad that you don't know how much I love you. Okay, well, that's what I knew, and yet there was something. So it was like this diamond clarity, and I had launched this huge enterprise of a ship into her and realized, oh gosh, it's gone aground. This is what I want, but it's not the way I want it. So it became clear in that moment, this was all about Ernie, my yearning, my parental upbringing, my growing up in the South as a Catholic boy, whatever. But it was clearly not about her. There was nothing wrong with her. And there was nothing wrong with me, but I was captivated by this yearning that was a big part of Ernie's ego to be met in the world. It was important by a woman in a relationship. And over the next couple of days, it was just that whole thing died. It was over. Like, okay, this is about me. This is not about her. It's not a relationship issue. So looking back, it took it off the horizontal plane and put it into the vertical. Like, oh, this is something for me to see. It's not something for us to work out on this plane. And probably maybe a year or two later, I realized that this was so important here because in the process, the seeming process for Ernie, this was such a big chunk. It was such an important piece in romantic engagement with somebody in a world that when it fell away, I realized there wasn't anything that I really needed in this world. Glass of water, but nothing the person needed to be okay. And that was a huge discovery that this whole process was ending. I was totally Swiss cheese by that time. So I think it's a story I've told a lot, but it's a story of what awakening can be like when you're trying to do something else that you think is important. And you need to do it because it's called for, because it's going to wake you up if you're lucky. I was lucky that day. And she was diamond clear. She wasn't in denial. She wasn't fighting me. She says, it's sad. So I didn't talk to her about this and gave a workshop some weeks later, maybe months later, and I was talking about this event, and she looks at me and she goes, oh, that's why we're not fighting anymore. Oh, yeah, could be.
Yeah, so you suddenly noticed that you were actually loved.
Yeah, and that it didn't really matter how. It was, if the fact of it wasn't enough, then this is something here that I needed to finish with. And apparently it was time to be finished with it.
Yeah, I think that's such an important point, that what you also mentioned concerning upbringing, that we have these ideas of what love looks like, or these imprints of what love looks like, and to come to the underlying of just love.
And yeah, and it's not just an image, or a belief, it's a visceral sense that I'm not getting what I need to survive, happy, you know, okay. So huge, visceral experience, which is really fear running amok as yearning.
Yeah. And you dropped it.
Somebody dropped it, it's gone.
But the love stayed.
Yes. Holly's favorite message to me and at workshops when we talk about relationships is, love me and leave me alone. I'm not here for you. Love me, but don't mess with me.
That's so beautiful. So not to trying to change the other person, but just stay with the love.
And in this case, it was, I mean, I didn't know if I was going to leave her or not because I didn't know whether she was suitable. And because I was so blinded by this other thing. So after a while, I realized, I'm not going anywhere. This is fine.
Yeah. And you've been together how many years now?
33 years.
Yeah.
And somebody else might, at that point, wake up to this and then go, oh, I don't want to be here because I'm being beaten or run around on, or, you know, something that would say, I don't want to. But it wasn't the case here. The big thing was the waking up. Fortunately, the relationship also survived. Thanks for
Yeah.
asking me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, I had a similar awakening actually after a breakup. I suddenly just felt like I don't want to allow that love between us dies. Even if we go separate ways, I wanted that energy of love to continue flowing.
Mm-hmm.
And just this important, something in my heart just broke open, and there was this just felt like a fight for love. And it felt like this like huge like light that was in the center of my chest of going like, this is what's really important, and I'm not allowing anything come between that love to that's there, while honoring that we are going separate ways, but the importance of letting love be there.
You know, Hellinger says, may you be happy regardless of circumstance, you know.
Yeah.
This is like, yeah. I remember a friend of mine saying she was standing in her kitchen. She'd been married a couple of times and none of them worked out, and had some boyfriends that didn't work out. And she's standing in her kitchen. She goes, oh, I'm in love and I don't have anybody to blame.
I think that's a beautiful ending point. That's really about love.
Good. Yeah. Thank you for this.
Thank you, Ernie.